Good evening, everyone. Our topic for today is in Chapter 8. It's about grading and reporting. Bear with me, everyone, as I discuss the function of grading and reporting. One of the most frustrating aspects of teaching is that of grading and reporting student progress, since there are so many factors to consider and so many decisions to be made. This chapter attempts to simplify this task and to minimize some of the complexities by describing the various types of grading and reporting systems and providing guidelines for effective use. The aim of grading and reporting system is to provide result in brief, understandable form for varied users. So let's start. Function of grading and reporting system. Grading and reporting systems have some very important function in educative process. Some of these important functions are, the first one is, first, enhancing students' learning through clarifying instructional objectives for them, showing students' strengths and weaknesses, providing information and personal social development, enhancing student motivational, and indicating where teaching might be modified. This can be achieved through day-to-day tests and feedback and integrated periodic tests. The next important function is reports to parents and guardians. Grading and reporting system are also information that can be provided to parents and guardians of students on progress of their wards. Likewise, grades and reports communicate objectives to parents so they can help promote learning and likewise communicate how well objectives were met so parents can better plan. So lastly is the administrative and guidance uses. The administrative and guidance purpose of grading and reporting consists in helping to indicate promotion, graduation, honor, athletic eligibility, reporting achievement to other schools or to employers, and lastly, providing input for realistic educational, vocational, and personal counseling. These three main purposes of grading and reporting by no means exhaust all possible uses of the activity. The main point, however, is that grades and reports cards should promote and enhance learning rather than frustrate and discourage students. In many schools, report cards are given to students and then parents are asked to sign this reports card. It may be a good practice to call for parent teacher conference at this time in order that the report cards will effectively function as motivation for further learning. So that's all is my report. I'm Milka Gusim from Bachelor in Secondary Education. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lovely Andihomo from BSc Filipino Block 305. I am the next reporter in Chapter 8, which is grading and reporting. And today my topic is about types of grading and reporting systems. In practice, we find a number of ways in which grades are made and reported. Normally, the type of grading used depends on the extent to which more descriptive and informative summaries are required by school authorities or by the stakeholders in general. Thus, the major types of grading and marking found in practice include the following. First is traditional letter grade system. In the traditional letter grade system, students' performance are summarized by means of letters. A stands for excellent, C stands for average, D stands for needing improvement, and then F as a failure. The traditional letter grade system is easy to understand, but it is of limited value when used as the sole report because they end up being a combination of achievement, effort, work habits, behavior. As such, they are difficult to interpret and they do not indicate patterns of strength and weaknesses. The second one is pass-fail. The pass-fail system utilizes a dichotomous grade system. Either a student has compiled and reached certain standards, in which case he passes, or he failed to do so and he gets a failing mark. This is popular in some courses in college, but not very much practiced in basic education. In fact, the pass-fail system should be kept to a minimum because it does not provide much information, since students tend to work to the minimum end in mastery learning courses. No grades are reflected until mastery threshold is reached. The third one is checklists or objectives. In this system, the objectives of the course are enumerated. After each objective, the student's level of achievement is indicated: outstanding, very good, good, fair, or poor. This is a very detailed reporting system and tends to be more informative for the parents and pupils. At the same time, it is, however, also very time-consuming to prepare. There is also the potential problem of keeping the list manageable and understandable. The next one is letters to parents or guardians. Letters to parents and guardians are useful supplement to grades. However, they have a limited value as sole report because they are very time-consuming to prepare. The accounts of weaknesses are often misinterpreted by parents and guardians, and they are characterized neither as systematic nor cumulative. And the next one is portfolios. A portfolio is a set of purposefully selected works with commentary by student and teacher. Portfolio are useful for showing students' strengths and weaknesses, illustrating range of students' work, showing progress over time or stages of a project, teaching students about objective standards they are to meet. And the last one is parent-teacher conference. Parent-teacher conferences are mainly used in elementary. It requires the parents of pupil come for a conference with the teacher. Pupils' progress. Portfolios, when available, are useful basis for discussion. Such conferences are useful for a two-way flow of information and getting more information and cooperation from the parents. So that's all. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My report for today is about development of a grading and reporting system. Grading and reporting system are guided by the function to be served by such in the educative process. The system will most probably be a compromise because of the host of factors to be considered in the preparation of such. The important thing to note, however, is that we should always keep achievement reports separate from effort expended. Ideally, grading and reporting systems should be developed cooperatively. Parents, students, school personnel, in order to ensure development of a more adequate system, and a system that is understandable to all. They should thus be, first, based on clear statement of learning and objectives. The grading and reporting system needs to be based on the same set of learning objectives that the parents, the teachers, and the students agreed at the beginning. Consistent with school standards. The system must support the school standard rather than oppose the school standards already set. Next is based on adequate assessment. The grading and reporting system should be easily verifiable through adequate system of testing. And measurement and assessment methods based on the right level of detail. The system must be detailed enough to be diagnostic but compact enough to be practical. Not too time-consuming to prepare and use, understandable to users, and easily summarized for school records purposes. Next is providing for parent-teacher conferences as needed. Next topic is assigning letter grades and computing grades. Grades assigned to students must include only achievement. It is very important to avoid the temptation to include effort for less able students because it is difficult to assess effort or potential and it's difficult to distinguish ability from achievement. Furthermore, if achievement and effort are combined in some way, grades would mean different things for different individuals. Next, grades reflected on report cards are numbers or numerical quantities arrived at after several data on the student's performance are combined. The following guidelines may be considered in combining such data. The first one, properly weigh each component to create a composite. The weights used are normally agreed upon by the school officials. Example here on how many percent goes for quizzes, for periodic tests, project assignment, and class participation. And the more scientific approach is to use a principal components analysis, which is hardly practiced in school because of the difficulty involved. Put all components on same scale to weigh properly. Equate range of scores, convert all t-scores or other standard scores.
Good day, everyone. My name is Joaquin Timothy Forato Dolingling, and I am one of the unit earners enrolled in this semester. Our group has chosen the topic grading and reporting. At this moment, I'm going to be sharing with you the learnings I was able to have after studying the fifth subtopic, norm reference grading and criterion reference grading. Studying this, I was able to craft 5 slides, and I hope you could learn something from each of these.
Alright, the sentences we have here were all just derived from the book. So the approach I'm going to be doing is to first read them as they were written and of course tell you the insights I have. Norm reference grading. Grades may reflect relative performance. For example, a score compared to other students. This is more commonly called a norm reference grading system. In such a system, first, grade depends on what group you are in, not just on your own performance. Second, typical grades may be shifted up or down depending on the group's ability. Third, widely used because much classroom testing is norm referenced. Alright, I could have here as an example is the typical classroom setup or classroom event wherein the advisor or the teacher determines the top 10 students who have gained highest scores, a sort of a ranking. And if you could imagine this, maybe this could help you more understand this concept. So suppose we have this student. If given the chance to be put or to belong in a high achieving section, he could just probably be gaining the third rank or to be in the third rank. But on the other hand, if given the chance to be put into a low achieving section, he could just be in the first place of the ranking. Alright, we have that sort of supposition. On that given example, we could realize that it is not just the individual's performance that matters, but of course, on where group he or she is in. Of course, we could conclude with this concept is that this is more on promoting the competition rather than cooperation, right? Next, criterion referenced grading. Grades may also affect absolute performance. For example, a score compared to a specified performance standards. This is more commonly called a criterion reference grading. In such a system, first, grade does not depend on what group you are in, but only on your own performance compared to a set of performance standards. Second, grading is a complex task because grades must 1. Clearly define the domain. 2. Clearly define and justify the performance standards. 3. Be based on criterion reference assessment. Third, Conditions are hard to meet except in complete mastery learning settings. Alright, what I could have here as an example is, if I remember it right, we as Raphaelians have these four grading periods, the so-called prelims, midterms, pre-finals, and finals. In this concept, the group we are in do not actually matter. Even the classmates we have do not actually matter. It's just that the performance standards versus our actual standards are all that matter. Imagining this would help you understand this concept. Imagine a criterion. Okay, di ba? In the first column, there is this specified tasks or specified aspects, and besides that, the percentage. All right, and it just only shows grading. You only shows that how well do you perform this specific task or in this specific aspect. And of course, having that said, being mm, having this for periodical periods grade sorry having these four grading periods come to pass, we could also reflect and we could also track your performance progress. Norm reference grading or criterion reference grading. Finally, grades may also reflect learning ability or improvement performance. For example, a score compared to a learning potential or past performance. In such a system, first, grades are inconsistent with a standard-based system because now each child is his or her own standard. Second, reliably estimating learning ability is very difficult. Third, one cannot reliably measure change with classroom measures. Fourth, therefore, should only be used as a supplement.
Good evening, everyone. I am Lani Lutino, BSc Filipino Block 305. My topic for tonight about distribution of grades and guidelines for effective grading. How should grades be distributed? The norm, reference, and criterion reference distribution of grades have been in practice for several years now. The norm, preference, or relative distribution is a big issue because of the following consideration. A. A norm curve is defensive only when we have a large unselected group. B. When grading on the curve, school staff should set fair ranges of grades for different groups and courses. C. When grading on the curve, any pass-fail decisions should be based on an absolute standard. D. Standard and ranges should be understood and followed by all teachers. Guidelines for effective grading. A. Describe grading procedures to students at beginning of instruction. B. Clarify that course grade will be based on achievement only. C. Explain how other factors will be reported. D. Relate grading procedures to intended learning outcomes. E. Obtain valid evidence for assigning grades. F. Prevent cheating. G. Return and review all test results as soon as possible. H. Properly weight the various types of achievements included in the grade. I. Do not lower an achievement grade for tardiness, weak effort, or misbehavior. J. Be fair. Avoid bias. When in doubt, review the evidence. If still in doubt, give the higher grade. That's all.
Good evening, everyone. I am Tricia Bulaño, the assigned reporter for this topic, which is conducting parent-teacher conferences. Parent-teacher conferences become productive when they are carefully planned, and the teacher is skilled in handling such conferences. Skills in conducting parent-teacher conferences can be developed. Here are some hints on conducting good references. Guidelines for a good conference. A. Make plans. Includes review your goals, organize the information to present, make list of points to cover and questions to ask. If portfolios are brought, select and review carefully. Next, start positive and maintain a positive focus. Contains present students' strong points first. Be helpful to have example of work to show strengths and needs. Last is compare early versus later work to show improvement. C. Encourage parents to participate and share information. Be willing to listen. Be willing to answer questions. D. Plan action cooperatively. What steps you can each take? Summarized at the end. Next, end with positive comment. Should not be vague generality. Should be true. The last one is use good human relations skills. Do. Be friendly and informal. Be positive in approach. Be willing to explain in understandable terms. Be willing to listen. Be willing to accept parents' feelings. And the last one is be careful about giving advice. Don't argue, get angry. Ask embarrassing questions. Talk about other students, parents, and teachers. Bluff if you don't know. Reject parent suggestions. And the last one is be a know it all with a pat answers. And that's all. Thank you.